food but everyone else loves?
Wow, tofu. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I've been trying to appreciate it for the longest time, but I'm still waiting for someone to cook it really well for me to appreciate it. I'm so sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Suddenly, like all the Asians in the comments are like, their hearts just shook a little bit. I shook a little bit.
Wait, so like all tofu, like fried tofu, a steamed tofu.
Okay, steam is great.
The sweet type.
Sweet not so much. I like savory foods.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
savory. We did
I like
talk
savory,
about,
but
not too
I
sweet.
yeah. So I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh,
Don't be sorry, it's okay.
That is quite a big food that everyone loves. But quite interesting. Okay, next one. Shower at night or shower in the morning?
Both, but I prefer at night. I would luxuriate the hell out of my
The nighttime routine,
Yes.
right? You gotta get the whole thing in, your skincare, everything. Exactly. It's all about the
Wait, how
luxury.
long are your showers?
Sometimes based on my Spotify playlist, sometimes about 30 minutes to 45.
Oh,
I
Spotify
will-
playlist, how
I will cue it to the point where I know how long. Yeah.
It's like
I say you
about
listen to music in the shower?
Yes, I do.
How do you do that? I always wanted to do that, but I've never figured out how to.
I mean, not in my ear. I blast it in my portable speakers. I'll bring it into the shower.
Right, okay.
Are you gonna start doing that?
Yeah, I'll try doing that as well. No, I usually play it from a speaker, but then because you're showering, right? So you can't hear the music anymore. Then I used to think like maybe I should wear my earphones, like AirPods, into the shower, but I
no, I
think
don't
it's a
like
terrible
the water.
idea.
The water
Yeah.
just like
Your
get in.
soap, your
And
shampoo.
then you cannot get a warranty for it because you
Yeah, it's
got it wet.
Someone needs to invent waterproof AirPods. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so it's like-
I agree.
One day. Yeah, one day.
Okay, next one. Are you a binge watcher or do you watch one episode at a time?
2 episodes.
2 episodes. Oh, that's
Yeah,
quite
maximum.
self-control actually.
Yes, I'm actually quite
Yes,
self-disciplined.
that'd be quite amazing.
Yeah.
I'm total binge watcher.
But you know when you binge watch, right? Then the whole thing is over in like one day. Then you feel so sad and empty
Yeah,
after
Oh,
that.
that's
Exactly.
true.
Yeah.
That is quite like...
So I think 1 or 2 episodes at a time.
Yeah, I
is
want to
like,
keep that excitement, so that's how I try to sustain it
yeah,
for myself. Yeah,
Then you can enjoy it for like 3 weeks or like 1 month. Or
Exactly.
something.
And then, okay, next one. Ghosts, skeptic or believer?
I'm somewhere in the middle. Like I've had some like questionable paranormal experiences, but I try to rationalize it in a different way. So I'm
like-
open to it. I'm actually very open to it.
When you're open to a haunting.
No, I'm open to the idea that I'm open to both sides actually,
Right,
and
right.
I think I'm leaning towards, on a spectrum, I'm leaning more towards yes, I do believe that there's ghosts. I would think that there are lovely ghosts that you can coexist with. That
Right.
you know,
Just like how they are bad and good people, they are probably they're good and bad ghosts.
I'd like to believe that. Yes.
Okay, last one I think. Go-to karaoke song.
Sum 41 Fat Lip.
Whoa, really?
Yes.
Interesting choice. I did not expect that from you.
Yeah, it's quite cathartic. So I would want a partner to fill in the other, like to just rap and yeah.
Ooh.
So do you do the rap part yourself or?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice. I want to go karaoke with you next time.
Yes, let's do it.
For me, I like Zing 182, but I like Sum
Okay.
41 songs
I feel like what's happening is maybe I am too out of this generation and I do not get it. Maybe I'm uncultured.
Maybe you're a bit young.
Maybe I'm too uncultured to understand this. I'm like, where am I? Like the millennials, like the later millennials kind of music.
Okay. Yeah, that's why I was
Like
thinking.
what kind of music were we listening to? I don't remember.
How about you though? What's your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, my go-to. I like to do some of Panic at the Disco's older songs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
Like
the Zillennial
the
spectrum.
iconic I suddenly cannot recall brain
Welcome
fart moment.
to that's My Chemical
the
Romance.
That's a good song. That's a good song too. But the first one.
Oh my god, I feel
what was
so
their
old. I
first
can't
song, the one
remember.
that they sung at a wedding. Suddenly I cannot remember. But anyway, I cannot remember it right now. How is it my
Why
go-to
do you
karaoke?
like that song? It's more like
I write sins, not tragedies.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's upbeat. Is that why you like it?
Yeah, something like that, like upbeat. I like to sing all those like the kind of things that at a when you're in karaoke you can belt. You're allowed to sing louder.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you like to sing the very hyped up songs. I like to sing. I like to do Billie Eilish also because her range is quite low, and then I have a lower voice, so I like to sing the lower
Ocean
range.
Eyes.
Oh,
Or is that
Eyes.
too, I don't know. It's like which Billie Eilish song do you like?
Ocean Eyes is great.
Ocean Eyes is
Yeah.
nice. I like Bad Guy. Yeah, Bad Guy. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's very fun.
Yes, it's very fun to sing, and then the
Yeah.
beat is nice, and I find that like it gets me used to the idea of singing. Just at like it's easier to control voice wise, but I think we have deviated quite far.
Okay, we need to do a
Maybe-
COMIXSG karaoke night soon.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
so.
Let's
That's
do
what we
it.
need
I'm
to
very
do.
excited. Okay.
Okay, so I think let's just go ahead and begin the podcast and get right into our introduction, which is what we do. So anyway, welcome back to another episode of Red Dot Comics Den, brought to you by the folks at Singapore Comic Con and the Work in Progress program. They are very, very wonderful supporters here at COMIXSG, and they've been supporting us since the previous season. But this season, we are very lovingly sponsored by them. So we got that SGCC money. Anyway, today we have another wonderful guest here with us, Quinatasya.
Yay.
Yes, she is a woman of many hats, right? She is an award-winning multidisciplinary artist known for her realistic, expressionist renderings of neuroanatomical structures, human figures, and living species in various mediums. You can see it here. So she not only illustrates variant covers, but she's also a multimedia creator and founder of Ohai Media, a creative media company in Singapore.
Yes.
Wow.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, and
Aw.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think like one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that you're doing so much. Like, because when I went onto your website, I see that, you're already shooting for like all these clients like Harper's Bazaar and like Ferrari. And I'm just like, wow. And then you're still doing your variant comic, like a variant comic cover artist as well. And I think it almost seems like nowadays there's this kind of necessity for artists to be like a jack of all trades in some ways. So I thought that was really, really cool that that was something that you can do. And maybe I think we can start off just with, maybe you can let us know a little bit about how and why you decided to make that jump into comics, because we were talking about your business Ohai Media, and your professional experience actually over the years is very focused on film and multimedia content. So how did you make that transition? I was very, very curious about that.
I've always been very I enjoy just making art, creating something out of nothing, in regardless of what medium it is, from traditional to digital. So in the last 14 years, I've been doing mostly video production, but at the same time, I'm also exploring, always collaborating with other people, other artists. And recently, just about a year ago, I've ventured into comics. So I've only just started illustrating comic variant covers. It's been really fun. Yeah.
I didn't realize that you only started a year ago.
Yeah, it's very new. Professionally, about a year ago. Yeah.
Right. So how did that first project or like first opportunity come up for you?
So sometime last year in October, I got a message from Randolph from Comic Grail Vault, and he was asking me if I was interested to work with him on the cover of King of Spies.
Let's talk a bit about that later.
Yeah, and Randolph and I have known each other for a very long time. I've known him as a fashion stylist. We were working in the same industry, so he also wears multiple hats, and he was a fashion stylist, and he's known me as a video person, as a multimedia producer, and he we've never actually worked together before, and I'm aware that recently, at the height of the pandemic, he and his brother co-founded Comic Grail Vault, which specializes. It's a comic book retailer that specializes in exclusive covers, exclusive variants. Sorry. Yeah. So he got in touch and he asked me if I was interested to work with him on the cover.
Right.
And I'd say that he took a big risk because there's a wealth of different comic book artists that he could work with. But he, given that I've never worked on a comic book professionally before, and he asked me, I felt that was really risky, and he went for it anyway. He discovered my art through Instagram, and he pitched my work to Mark Miller and the Image team.
Okay. Yes, Mark Miller. Yeah, what was it like actually working on your first debut comic cover from like Mark Miller? Because I'm a huge Kingsman fan actually.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I
very, very good.
At some point I was like, what is going on here? Because everything happened at breakneck speed. So when Randolph approached me, the deadline was like 1 week. So I didn't have time.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
okay, but that makes sense, like comic.
Exactly.
Like, so fast.
So when he approached me, he was like, the deadline is really tight. Are you available? And I was like, hell yeah.
I will make myself available. It's Mark Miller.
Exactly. So and everything happened so quickly, and I didn't really have time to process it. At some point I called up some of my friends. I'm like, I don't know what is happening. I was ugly crying. I was like, I can't believe this is happening, because like it's like a dream come true. But I just wanted to do a really good job, and it turned out to be a very smooth process. Because they approved it, they gave the green light. I started drafting out preliminary sketches, and they approved it. And then before you know it, it was selected for printing. And along the way, Randolph also took another risk. So instead of just the front cover, he proposed for a front and back cover. So
actually, let's show off the art.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can see this is the cover and this is the back.
It's such a solid case, actually. Like
just like to protect that first issue, right? Can you see, or is it like reflecting? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think you also sell it as prints, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay. If you guys want to get this, you can check out.
Wait, so this was your first cover?
Yeah, my first cover.
Amazing.
And I'm so lucky that, my first gig, I got to do a front and back cover, and yeah, it was pretty special for me.
That's so amazing, because I think for a lot of people, like, they don't really know how it happens, but I think, like what you said, like you knew someone who you had known for so many years, and then the opportunity came out and the timing just worked out. Like, that's actually really serendipity.
I think so too. That's exactly how I described it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so happy for you though.
Yeah. Thank you.
Such an exciting.
Thank you so much.
Such an exciting thing to happen, and also during the pandemic, right? It's like, I mean, that was a tough time for people in general.
I love that like Randolph also clearly is like a champion of like emerging artists. That the fact that he reached out to you and that he believed in you also to make these covers, and I really like that. It's good to give newer artists opportunities, especially local Singaporean artists.
Yeah, I think about that a lot, because he did have a tyranny of choice, and he's been working with so many different international artists, and he felt that my aesthetic was suited to the synopsis. I was drawing a lot of brain stuff, and the synopsis, the protagonist, incidentally had a brain tumor and had 6 months to live, and I think something in him thought like, okay, Quin could probably execute this. Very, very lucky.
Yeah, that's interesting. So like you've been drawing these like brains and like neuroscience kind of drawings before that, and then maybe it just like stuck with him, right? So like for him, he's also doing a bit of art directing when he picks out you to do the illustration.
And he paints as well. So he's also like very inspiring. You should have him on, and his brother on.
Actually, that would be great. That's a great idea.
Yeah, also because it would be something different. Like comics distributor, comic collectibles is not something that we have touched upon yet. So I think that'd be quite interesting. And I think we can go back to the idea where you're talking about like how you were doing like a lot of like neuro anatomical drawings. Like we can see it like right here. So like they get this one, and then also the iconic Batman.
Yeah, this Batman drawing.
The Batman who laughs.
It's so
so good.
Yeah, this is so iconic.
So I think like, yeah, we can talk a little bit about this as well. Like, why did you decide to combine like these two seemingly very, very different things together? Like neuroscience and art.
I'm obsessed with both art and science. And it's funny when people say that they are seemingly different. I get that, you know, people don't see the connection almost immediately. But for the longest time, I've seen them as like having a symbiotic relationship. Like art and science, we're constantly asking the same questions, but using very different tools to explore certain phenomenon. For example, love, right? In science, we have different tools. Like we have, we measure our physiological responses to love. What are the neurotransmitters that's related, associated to love? And love is operationally defined in a certain way in science. And love explored in art is completely like it's more, you know, like. You see love depicted through poetry, in films, in music, and I find that we're asking the same questions, but just, you know, have different, you know, with science, it's a scientific method, it's rigorous. With art, it's you know, and both have so much beauty, you know, like it's so I've always seen them as similar in so many ways, and I'm equally interested in both. But for me personally, I've always used art as a way to understand all the scientific concepts that I was learning a few years ago when I enrolled in a behavioral sciences course.
Yeah. I guess that was why you entered that behavioral sciences course, right?
So so art was a way for me to just kind of crystallize everything that I was learning, all the concepts that I learned in my textbooks. I needed to find a way that was meaningful for me. So I drew all these, and Batman is already encoded in my long-term memory. So I wanted a good way for me to familiarize with the terms and the different parts of the brain, the motor cortex and all that, was to relate it to something that I love and I already know.
Okay, that's so awesome.
That's really cool. That's like, you know, like how people take notes in school, right?
Yeah.
So for you taking the notes, like you chose this like visual format, and then you like related it to characters that you knew. That's actually like a really great way to learn, you know, like to enforce these like scientific concepts. So it's not a bad thing if students draw. It's actually helping their memory retain the information better.
Funny story, I actually after I drew this for myself, I posted it online, and I was surprised that people liked it, and I printed it out on t-shirts, gave it to my friends, and then I did something a little bit cheeky. I emailed my lecturer asking her, would it be considered cheating if I were to wear the t-shirt to the exam hall? And then she seemed very amused. She was like, ha ha ha, of course it's considered cheating unless it's an open book exam. And turns out that for the cognitive science paper, it was open book. But by the time that the exam happened, I already had everything encoded in my head.
So funny. So it's not just about you wearing the t-shirt, it's the guy in front of you wearing the t-shirt, so that you can look at his back and see the the drawing.
I thought of that too, like passing it to everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like turn.
That's quite funny.
It's like everyone in the school like, okay, let's all get Quin's t-shirt so that we can all help each other out.
Everybody wear. I think it's also kind of cool that you've been also working collaborative with your mom, for example, on art as well. So we can see this very, very beautiful painting here.
Thank you.
I've also actually wondered, because I saw this, I think, a bit of the process on Instagram. What material were you using? Because you're using like a hair dryer. It was very liquidy, very watery.
Yes, so my mom has very recently developed an obsession over acrylic fluid art. She can't wait for me to be free after Comic-Con so we can do more collaboration. She has ideas all the way up to like Valentine's Day next year. Right. So I'm very excited to continue to resume creating more series with her. She's an inspiration. Like, she's big on DIY. She loves just creating. And I'm learning so much from her. So when she developed this interest in fluid art, I tried to emulate it digitally. So she would send me all these designs on WhatsApp, and I'll be like, okay, let me attempt that on Procreate. And then we would send each other back and forth, and she would do it traditionally. So this collaboration that we did was the first time that she taught me how to do, based on everything that she learned. It was really fun, and I think very meaningful because we wanted it to be something that's portrays our journey.
There's a bird here.
Two
Yeah.
birds,
Two
one
birds.
Wait, where's the other bird?
Here.
Oh,
The tiny
Yeah,
one.
there's a
Tiny
smaller one and a
one.
bigger one. They're so cute. I love
Yeah.
this story of like, like creating with your mom and
do
all
you
that.
do you do like you mentioned earlier that your mom
Yeah, my mom loves comics, so I go to bookstores with my mom. We will like watch movies
Like
together.
when you were younger and even now?
Yeah. But then I think we don't like make stuff together, so it's very different. We're like we're more like cerebral.
You know what?
about
Take
it.
up some SkillsFuture course with your mom. It's so fun. Like recently in
Did you do that with your mom? as well?
Yes, in September it was her birthday month, so I told myself to carve out some time and just learn baking with her. So we took up this 3-week course and we baked like croissants and like it was so fun and I highly recommend it. Like just to go on leave for a while, spend some time with your mom, learn something with them, and you can see how like nature nurture, like how growing up you might have observed or like seen how your mom does things and
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I think and I have not seen it before where SkillsFuture is recommended as like
family bonding activity.
family bonding activity, but it's such a good idea.
That makes
so that's what
sense,
people
yeah.
should do with SkillsFuture. That's what SkillsFuture is for.
Here's an alternative way of using your SkillsFuture credits. You spend time with your family.
Yeah, exactly. Go learn baking with your mom.
Yes, highly recommend
I'll
it.
suggest it to her.
It
I don't
might-
think baking though. Maybe something else.
Maybe something else. But technically, wouldn't you consider that like the two of you do kind of work together because Asia Pack books?
Yeah, I mean, so we work together, but it's very different.
It's different,
so
yeah.
it's very stressful, right? And then I'm learning from her. So there's a lot of like she telling me what to do rather than say like, I think doing something like artistic together would be much more relaxing.
You're on the same
You
level,
know?
like
Yeah.
level. There's no like, okay, you gotta do this. It's exactly this
Yeah,
way.
there's no deadlines, there's no like pressure.
Yeah, it would be nice if you pick something in which she can trust you. Your
What about bookbinding? I know you're quite into that.
Pass? Oh my god, my mom's so not into it. Okay, so my mom is like, she's a publisher from that era, right? She's like a business person. She doesn't like touch the stuff. She doesn't do the design. She doesn't do the editing. She's a real business person. So it's quite hard to imagine doing anything crafty with her. Yeah, she also didn't cook or clean at home. As in she clean and help a lot around the house, but she doesn't cook. So she's not like a mommy mom. I don't know if you
then
guys-
learn cooking with her. Do you
that's why
cook?
I do cook. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we can do something like cooking
Yeah.
class.
Then
or
that's
like,
something that you can guide her. Then
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, okay.
Very nice.
We'll try that out.
Yeah. And I think like you were talking about how working on this with your mom. Do you ever envision like bringing this kind of psychedelic colors and this kind of work into your own art? I know this one also already quite psychedelic. Actually, you can talk a little bit about this also. But clearly the style is very different. So do you intend to like, bring this into your future covers?
Yes, I think so. My mom is constantly inspiring me. So I
She's
think
like,
I'm
please use my art in your covers.
no, she doesn't say that, but I would look at it and I'll be like, wow, this is amazing, and I'll try to incorporate it in my own practice. Sometimes I would ask her how she got there, but usually I'll try it out for myself first and like mess up and just experiment, and then and I can't wait to learn more from her because there's still so much to learn about fluid art.
Yeah, fluid art is. I didn't even know it was like a thing. Like
Me neither.
it's like I mean, there's so many techniques, like different kinds of like paper marbling and all
like
that.
an acrylic pour or something like that.
Something like that, but there is so many ways to execute it, like with hair dryer. It's like countless ways to explore. And you have so many different outcomes. So
Right. So clearly your mom's a big part of your like artistic process. Like,
She is.
So has she been very, very supportive of you even when you were younger, like with your own like artistic journey and things like that?
She has. Both my parents have. So they've always actively encouraged me to participate in all sorts of all sorts of art-related activities, art competitions. So my mom would just sign me up to some RC art competition.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, there was
Nice.
so
Great.
many. And for me, it was just like, oh, I get 1 to 2 hours to just draw, and the price was not. It was not an
NTUC
incentive.
voucher.
Like a trophy and like
Yeah.
$100 or $200, and my
Yeah.
mom would usually keep it and say like she will
She'll
use
save
it for
you or no?
exactly.
Yeah.
But I usually get books sometimes. So she will I would request, okay, if I win, can I get 1 or 2 Goosebumps books? So that'll be my incentive. Yeah.
Something I'm also quite curious about, because you mentioned that you only started your kind of journey in the comic industry like a year ago. So do you now currently have a dream comics publisher, writer, or comic series that you want to illustrate for? Can be like you can choose a comic like character, also can if you don't
Okay.
have a particular like writer or anything.
I feel like everyone's stories are valid. So I wouldn't mind working with anyone, but ideally I would like to work with more marginalized individuals from like LGBTQ plus community or people who are neurodivergent or people who've struggled with chronic illnesses, to help them tell stories of their adversity. So I wouldn't mind illustrating for, anyone who has any interesting stories to tell. But I also wouldn't mind, I wouldn't say no if someone asked me to draw Batman or Tangle. I'm open to basically any project, any characters, because I feel like
Maybe because you're kind of like starting out, like you don't really have a plan for yours. Do you have a plan for yourself right at this point? Like in comics, do you have like goals or like things that you're trying to work towards?
Yeah, my goal is to like I said, to probably work more with the marginalized community.
right.
So I think ideally that would be like the end goal, or just work very closely with, not say end goal, but I would like to get more involved in that, and also to help because I love art and science. I feel like science communication can be improved, and so I feel like just creating artwork that's educational, that can make kids more engaged, relating anatomy with characters that kids love. So to just find ways to make art or any educational topics easily digestible. So I think it will be great to just mix science and art, and tell stories and
Sounds really fun. I do think that it's very like a very unique skill set that you have, because a lot of times, like say if you're an artist, people don't expect you to have that scientific knowledge as well. But the fact that you have both, I think it's very appealing for, like if anyone has any projects out there, looking for an artist who can like really like balance these two spaces. That, I mean, it's really called Quin up. Like I think it's
thank you.
like it's actually, as a publisher, like it kind of opens up a lot of interesting possibilities. Yeah, because I think it is a challenge, like what you said, like communicating scientific concepts for younger or like even adult audiences. But let's say if you do a book about neuroscience, it can be a self-help book and you have actually like good illustrations inside. That would be amazing.
I'm hoping to challenge myself to create artwork that's a bit more that could help to communicate very important topics or very
I mean, sorry to like go off on the tangent, because like when you read books related to like neuroscience and like happiness, for example, like I was reading something called The Upward Spiral, and there's also this book called like The Body Keeps the Score.
I love
think
that.
it's very, very, it's like it's like a bestseller, and it's about trauma, right? A topic that everyone's very concerned about. And I think being able to visualize it, all these concepts, because you're like what's my amygdala, like what's my prefrontal cortex, what's my
it
like,
kind of just
you're
feels
like,
like a space, right? Like when you don't understand it.
yeah,
you
exactly.
can't really-
So like when people actually are able to write out like, oh, what is a trauma response, and break it down what it is, right? It becomes easier to manage, right?
Yeah.
So actually visualizing that process for people. I think it will like really help.
I
a lot
would
of
love to
people.
help to facilitate that. You know, when you're describing that, I
Yeah.
pictured it in my head in 3D, and I'm like, I want to draw it out for you now.
Yeah, for
Where's
me
the
it's
amygdala? Okay, yeah.
I got like you know,
like
it's a
just
black
kind
and
of
white.
free floating in the void kind of experience, right? I just kind of wanted to bring it back to like this idea that you brought up where you really wanted to work with marginalized communities and also kind of amplify their voices and their stories. And I thought I really love that, especially I think in Singapore, that's something that we really need because we don't really get enough of these kind of stories, I feel.
I
So
agree.
is that also like a big like driver for you, and is that something that's also a big part of your art, like working with marginalized communities?
Recently, in 2017, I was roped in to work on this very meaningful project that sort of influenced, or rather, it made me want to work more on this sort of projects. It was a collaboration between Singapore Tatler and New Life Stories. New Life Stories is basically a non-profit organization that works very closely with people who are incarcerated parents. So what they do is they provide learning materials for children with parents behind bars. So in that project, I actually have it in my bag. So they paired 8 different artists with 8 writers, and these writers are incarcerated women, to just tell stories, very simple illustrated stories for children. And I felt that was a very meaningful project, and I definitely want to work, on more projects that
Wow,
are really meaningful and helpful to people who are less fortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times, like incarceration, it's a class issue much more than say like actual, like the. I feel that a lot of times, like there's a lot of stories there that need to be told.
Yeah.
Because these stories are telling us, like what our society is lacking. How people have very bad options when the society isn't giving them enough support. Yeah. Okay, that's really great.
Yeah.
I really hope these projects come true.
Yeah, I
and
hope so too.
Yeah, I feel like comics especially is such an important medium for telling these stories, because that's when people can really like see some of these details and understand some of these characters and feel for them more strongly as well.
Yeah, it's a good way of understanding someone else that you don't really get to hear from.
Yeah.
And I think if we get out of our personal bubble, and I think that's like, if we are not meeting these people, then I guess coming into contact with their stories is also a really, really important way to understand that there are other people besides your own lived experiences and your own perspectives. And I do love that, you find that that's so important for your own kind of work. And I think like clearly you have a lot influences your art, so the neuroscience, working with marginalized communities. And I know also that you yourself, you're beyond kind of film as well, you're filmmaking and editing, you're also a musician, so you play the bass.
Hey, I'm not worthy of that title.
Bass guitar.
I dabble.
That's so cool.
I dabble.
I feel like as long as you do it, you should be considered like, if you draw, you're an artist. If you play music, you're a musician. It's not about like, I'm a professional. So? Yeah, I think so, because it's about like, I don't think we need to gatekeep. Like, we don't need to be enough of an artist to be considered an artist. Like, how many pages do I have to draw to be considered an artist? Or like, how many pieces must I learn before I can be considered a musician? Or how many songs must I compose? I don't think I don't need that benchmark to be considered.
Yeah, maybe another way of seeing it is also like, we all have that artist or like that musician within us. Like all humans have the love and capability of creating. So we can call ourselves that. But anyway, it's also more like, I'm sure that, can you tell us more about your bass guitar? I'm actually really, I'm so curious right now. I didn't know
firstly,
this.
I love this view, and it's helping me rethink a lot of things, because it took me a long time to be okay with the label artist as well, because I'm like, I just like to make stuff, and for the longest
what all
time
artists do. Yeah, they just like to make stuff for the longest time.
Yeah, so with music, I mean, I'm surrounded by a lot of songwriters, and I get a chance to jam with actual musicians, and so yeah, and I really enjoy playing the bass guitar and drums, and I feel like it's when I learned how to play drums, it really helped me improve in my video production, specifically in my post production. So it helped
Wow.
me with and it was a happy side effect, I would say, because learning the drums helped me improve on my video editing, my pacing,
Yeah,
and like
Like the rhythm.
the rhythm.
beats.
Wow, okay. I've never like seen any parallel between that. But when you mention it now, I think to myself like, yeah, actually it does make sense. Like having a sense of rhythm, a sense of beat and all that. That's
Yeah.
something very important to filmmaking.
It is, and I consider sound and audio to be about 70% of the entire experience in video. I mean, it's
Yeah, for
arguable. A lot of
sure.
people might say, it's 50%, but for me, it's 70%. If the audio is shit, the entire quality is
you
terrible.
just
Yeah,
like the body
Bezel is like thumbs
Yeah.
up, thumbs up. It's so true though.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
people can be very forgiving. Like your eye can compensate for a lot of loss in quality, or say
Yes.
like not so perfect film like cinematography.
Yeah.
But your ears, right, are very sensitive. Like, they can hear things exactly as they are. So yeah,
Yeah.
audio is really important. I agree.
It is, and just my love for music helped me to be more attuned to these little things, and it has helped me elevate my video editing skills and just paying attention to all the nuances. In terms of art, I listen to I create playlists for everything, for
Yes.
different moods,
uh-huh.
for different parts of the creative process also. So when it comes to just writing and planning, it's more I would listen to like jazz and like that messy part of the creative process where it's more like divergent thinking. So when it comes to more like converging and when I try to get into the flow state, there are also playlists for that, and
Wow.
there are
So you have different kind of focus playlists.
I want to hear your playlist. Like, I'm so
yes,
curious.
I'm
Maybe you
more
should
than
drop your
happy.
recs.
Sorry.
Drop your recommendations.
I'm happy to share, and there are also like podcasts that are catered to creatives that can get us into the flow state. So it's like 1 hour long, just a lot of ambience music, and they would include like breaks in between, and it's backed by scientific studies, cognitive science studies, where they take into consideration our attention span, because after like maybe about 15 minutes or so, our attention will dwindle and productivity levels will
Right.
go down. So there are all these playlists, and I try to take all of these into consideration while curating my own playlist. And I tend to listen to a lot of video game music and Hans Zimmer.
Yes,
towards
Hans
the
Zimmer,
so that's towards the end of the creative process, when I'm like trying to push myself to the end, like, because creating, drawing and all sorts of the creative process is like a marathon, right? So
Yeah.
and there are moments where you're like kind of like, oh, this is not working out, like I should just trash it. And I think music energizes you and helps you kind of navigate through the entire process. And
Yeah.
Hans Zimmer is really helpful though, like
Amp
dum
yourself
dum dum.
up for
Yeah,
at the
like
end.
yeah.
So cool. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's almost like guided meditation.
It is,
So
yeah.
like using sound to like just help you manage like your your attention span and all that, and energy level, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about you both, but do you get like when you listen to music, do you get like a lot of visuals in your head? Like you get like a storyboard in your head and imagine.
I can
For
sometimes. Yeah.
me, no, I'm not like it. Yeah, that is a thing, right? There's this term,
Synesthesia.
right, for that, for people like that see colors and stuff when they. they
Is it
really listen.
synesthesia?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't really. Oh, I feel like it's more emotional feeling like that sits with you more than like I get visuals.
Ah,
You know what I mean? Like how you say it, like kind of like invigorates you a little
Yeah.
bit. And I thought like when you mentioned that podcast about like how this like ambient music and then like breaks kind of reminded me of like the Pomodoro method.
Oh yes,
Yes.
I'm all for Pomodoro. Do you?
I'm also like all for Pomodoro
Really?
method. It got me through my masters, man, when I needed to like
Yes.
do my essays and everything, and like I use it during work also sometimes.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
that's good.
Me too.
Like
Yeah.
it's just good for focusing, and then when you need your brain needs that break. It's just Actually, what podcast was that? Do you remember?
It's called flow state.
Flow state.
Yeah, so there are sessions where he will just talk about the flow state and the science
okay.
behind it, and there are also some where it's really just music, and he would find like really really good music like Boards of Canada, all these really good music, electronic music that can help you kind of induce you into this flow state that most creatives try to achieve.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
guys, check out Flow State for your artists. It needs.
Yeah, this
Huh?
podcast.
Pomodoro technique.
Pomodoro
So
technique.
the Pomodoro technique, it
Explain the viewers.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sure.
Okay, I mean, if you're not familiar with the Pomodoro technique, do you want to explain it?
okay, let's do it together. So from what I understand about the Pomodoro technique, they recommend that you divide your focused and your diffused time to about like say 20 minutes. Sorry, I can't remember.
20
Actually, it
also.
depends because
It depends, yeah.
It's up to you, like what feels right for you. But basically,
Yeah.
what happens is you have a certain period of time, say 20 minutes, where you do focus work and you don't look at do anything else. You just work on that one thing, and then you have a period of break. You can technically choose any amount of time for that, because when you go onto YouTube, basically there's all kind of combinations. There's 15-minute and 10-minute break, 15-minute and 5-minute break, 20 minutes and 10-minute break, or something like that. And you just find the combination that works for you. I feel like I've gone through all the combinations to
Me
try
too.
and find which one works for me.
Yeah.
But it's a trial and error process where you figure out like how long can your brain sustain, and then how much of a break do you need. And I feel like that is kind of like what the Pomodoro technique can do for you in terms of like focus. And for example, for art, like when you really need to get into that state, how long do you operate for? And when do you feel like you're losing your energy and you need that break? And I think that's a good kind of way to work as well. But I think it's also not for everyone. Some people just can work for 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
But I know I cannot lah, so I need
I think
the
they
break.
can, but in terms of productivity, I think a lot of studies, the studies are robust. Like it shows that productivity levels will sort of dwindle after for extended periods. So the Pomodoro technique it really really helps with our own like efficiency and
for sure.
yeah. So what's a sweet spot for you?
My sweet spot is 25 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
Then
or focus attention.
focus attention, because that was like when I was working on my masters. That was about like how long I could read a paper for.
What were you doing for your master's?
I was a literary arts like student, so I was studying NUS. And like how the like in papers like uni, it's so thick like that, so the jargon, and I could only focus about like 20 and 25 minutes, but I really would need to get through this reading because like class is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I would read for that 25 minutes, 30 minutes, and then after that I'll be like, okay, I need that mental break just to you kind of take a break, and then also you're more able to come back and have a more refreshed perspective of what you're reading also.
Oh my god.
So when I work, I do that also actually in Asia Pac. Like sometimes.
That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, when I hear this, right, I'm like, you guys are like more evolved versions of human beings. Like for me, all I do is I just work until I'm tired. Then I go and get a snack. Then I come back. Then I eat the snack while working. Then I have no concept of like the Pomodoro technique or whatever. But I think I don't know if like I'm like the minority or the majority here, because
you don't have to use it all the time also. Like sometimes it can be tiring to do it very, very strictly, I find. Like sometimes you also just want to like work until I'm tired and then get a snack and then continue.
Yeah, I'm very inspired though. I think I'll try it out. Because before this, like my idea of like like working, right, it's just like work until I'm tired, then sleep, then work some more. Yeah, but I do definitely agree with you. Like productivity, especially for like creative stuff, right, where you're really squeezing your brain, you can't keep up the focus forever.
Yeah.
So it's very important to like recognize your limits and all that.
Try it out and let us know how it goes.
I'm inspired now. I will try it out.
There's a lot of like maybe you can try out flow state. Then there's a lot of YouTube like videos where there's just like 6 hours of like Pomodoro, and then sometimes I just turn it on, and then I just if I like when I need to rush for papers, I just do the 6-hour Pomodoro and I just go, oops. I just go for like overnight or something if I really need to do it. That was
Wow, I
something
think
I love
we are
this.
very similar working style. I do that too. Yeah. There's so many resources that's gonna help you elevate your workflow. So
it
use
sounds
them.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's a complete segue, but I'm so interested in talking about this. There's
Me
like
too.
Yeah.
so like there are all these kinds of videos. Some of them have like colors that like
Oh,
transition
yeah.
at the back. For me, they're like light colors, they're pastel colors, then they're like darker colors, and I like to go for the darker colors because it's not very distracting or something. Like there's
Oh my
just
gosh,
like a
that's
lot
so
of preferences
cool.
that you can go. But I think I analyze this a lot for me because I also feel like I'm very in my brain kind of mode.
I'm
Like
curious
thing.
to know what's your MBTI. Sorry, this.
I can never remember.
Okay.
Because I would try and then I would forget. It's either it's definitely INF something.
Oh.
But I
Yeah.
cannot remember if it's like J or P.
Okay.
Or is it INT or is it an INT or something like that? I know it's IN and then something.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
we
like,
talked
what
about
would
this
you-
before.
Oh, we have. Wait,
I think so.
can't
I
remember.
think at one point all of us in the office did the
Okay.
test.
Oh,
or was
we
it the
did?
six
Never
another
mind, yeah.
test? Okay,
It's
I'm going to
okay.
try and see if I can find it.
There's
We
this
can find
app.
out after the shoot.
There's
Yeah.
this app Dimensional. You can they just help to consolidate all the your personality tests, your traits, your strengths, your values. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your MBTI?
INFJ. Yeah.
Okay, I'm an
Okay.
ENFP.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good combi.
Yeah, it's very-
it's
What
like a
combi
golden
does that
pair.
do?
Yeah.
It's
What is that? Like what does that combi like
Um,
mean or
like
do?
so like say the J, right? Like the J and the P
Complementary.
it's very complementary. One is judging, one is perceiving.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they kind of like process information differently. So it's very complementary because let's say if you're both J, right, and you're both like more judgmental or like
Yeah.
it's not saying judgmental, but the way that you process information is more similar, then you actually have a less complete picture than if you have people who have like very different ways of processing the information. I mean, it's a bit like just having more diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see it. Ling is very, very good at looking at things with a very critical eye, but then also offering a very fresh perspective.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I find that like when you're editing or when you talk to clients and then like some of the things that you talk about, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's very, very good.
Yeah.
Or like you see certain things in certain ways. So I can see how like kind of like the MBTI like works with that. So that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
But okay, we had a
Okay,
huge
yeah.
No,
we
it's
keep
okay.
digressing.
but it was super interesting.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't know, you guys found it
I
interesting.
love the Pomodoro. Yeah.
Yeah. Pomodoro.
Thanks for
technique, check
sharing
it
your
out.
your own
Yeah.
experience with
Yeah,
that.
I'm just like
okay.
super focused on like trying to get things to work all the time. So I think like Pomodoro is a way to do it.
Yeah, I love that this episode is like very different from our other episodes. I think because like in a way we brought you on because you did some comic covers,
Yes.
right? But honestly, what I'm getting also is that actually you're just a very creative person. You have a lot of creative experience, and it's really great to just like kind of hear about that.
Thank you.
As well. Like talking about productivity, like like actually for artists, like
quite important.
like the cognitive behavior stuff is really important, and you need to like people will be like, oh yeah, artists, you feel inspired and then you create. No, it's not. It's not that simple, right? Like managing your
still
energy
work.
levels.
Yeah, it's still
work,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's a lot of. I wouldn't say I don't try to focus on time management, but more attention management.
Yes.
And Pomodoro is all about
Totally
that.
relate.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I try to minimize distraction as much as I can when I'm in the focus mode. So I'm quite notorious when it comes to just like blocking out all forms of
Oh,
distraction.
that's okay.
Oh,
I'm
I love
quite-
that.
Yeah,
You're like that too?
No, I wish I was like that. I
Okay.
feel like I would try to block out distractions, but I think it also depends on the setting where I'm at. Like I feel like at home it's harder, but also it depends on the kind of mentality that I'm in. I'm also easily distracted by things that I don't think I would usually be distracted by. I think it depends on if in that moment you feel like you're in a state where you're more easily able to focus or not.
Yeah, so actually I'm curious, right? Like coming back to your art work,
Yes,
right?
I think let's
so
go
how,
back to that.
Yeah,
a
so
little
like
bit.
all these like thinking about like how to manage your attention, all that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like working on say the King of Spies cover, right? Like actually, what was your process like?
Oh,
What music do you listen to?
Yeah, I wanted to.
I'm curious
to
about that.
also.
For King of Spies, all the projects have very different approaches. So once I read the synopsis and I understand the brief, my process is going to be catered to that project. And I think this is my approach even in video production because back then in my full-time job, I was working at MediaCorp Publishing where I was the single video person for about a dozen different magazine titles. So within a day, I was switching rapidly from what does Elle magazine want, what does FHM want. Like everyone have different artistic and creative direction. So I had to put my ego aside. I had to put like what is my style, and all of that is secondary because for me, what is required from the project, like what is the brief and what are the requirements. So I didn't realize it until I reflected recently. I find that it's the same approach for my art as well. So for King of Spies and Department of Truth, they are completely different. King of Spies was very, I would say it's more cerebral in a sense that there were a lot of writing before I even started.
Yeah, so this is Department of Truth, and that is King of Spies.
We have another
Super
cover.
different.
I think we can also talk about later.
And I think it's pretty obvious as well. Like the styles are also very, very different. I'm aware of it, and the process is also very different. So for King of Spies, I did a lot of writing before I even started. So while I was waiting for Randolph's approval at every stage, I was feverishly writing down, trying to get I was trying to understand the protagonist, trying to find out his motivations, and there was very little information for me, so I tried to kind of paint a picture of him and all the elements that I wanted to include. So I wrote them down in keywords, and then I started work on it and try to include all the elements that I had previously written. So yeah, there was a lot of thinking involved in this cover. Whereas for the Department of Truth, basically the process was I created a psychedelic rock playlist and I tuned everything out and just tuned in words. So for a few hours I was just painting and it was just like
feeling your piece in a way.
Yeah, so it was more experiential and I wanted to kind of evoke that for the Department of Truth as well. Also based on the synopsis that was given to me.
That's so amazing. Cool. So you're in a way like you know your creative process, part of it is also creating that process, that unique process to like kind of like eventually like give birth to like the final work and all that.
Yeah, so I had to kind of embody that in my own way, make it meaningful in my own way. So they're all very, very different.
Yeah. I think that's actually like kind of a nice idea as well. So like catering your process to each project and like looking at the needs of like say the content that you're working on. Yeah, that's really amazing because I think a lot of people they're like they're trying to find like one way of working that works, but actually there's no such thing as like just one way, right? Every project, every piece can be an experiment to like see what you can create doing it differently.
Yeah, and I also try to also think about my own intentions for each project. So at the start, before I embark on it, I would just very quickly journal and like what do I intend? Like what's my intention for this? So that I don't deviate from that too much and just kind of affirm my values. So at the end of the day, I'm also learning, and it's not just about the audience and what the client needs, but more of like, what do I want to learn this time? Do I want to improve on say my gestures for this one? Do I want to improve on my lighting or so to make it meaningful in my own way as well.
Yeah, that's very conscious. Yeah, that's very cool.
I try.
Being very mindful about your art.
So journaling before you start a project about your intentions.
I guess it's
that's
kind
a
of like
great idea.
thumbnailing and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think let's talk a bit about your latest upcoming cover that was with Comic Grill Vault, and that's gonna be an exclusive at Singapore Comic Con. I think, so let's talk a little bit about this one, which is Good Boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you want to talk a little bit about this cover that you're going to be promoting during SGCC?
Yes, so Good Boy is a wonderful action-packed series that involves the protagonist Flynn Sparks. His human John was murdered, and so all hell breaks loose lah. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at this synopsis.
It's okay. No, it's okay.
Yeah, and so in the third volume, they mentioned that they're introducing Flynn Sparks' son. So in this cover, I was thinking about nature versus nurture. I was thinking about Flynn, the trauma that Flynn Sparks experienced over time in the last two volumes. So I was thinking, what would it be like from the child's perspective? You know, having viewed his dad's journey, and how much of his dad was like how similar, like what traits would he
Share with his dad?
share with his dad? Yeah, thank you. So yeah, and I wanted to invite like reflection. So
reflection.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like the
shadow.
shadow, I wanted viewers to kind of think like, could it be
Hold it
him
up
in the
again.
future, or
Or like his enemy, or like
his enemy,
like his
or-
shadow, or like his dark side, or like his past.
It's very interesting because when I looked up like what Good Boy was,
Yeah.
my first thought when I saw the synopsis, I was like, oh my god, this is like John Wick, but except instead of like some guy kills a man's dog, you kill a guy. You like kills a
spoiler.
dog's like.
yeah.
I mean, but technically,
Okay, but I
is it a
mean, okay,
spoiler
it's-
if it's the start? It starts
Okay,
the plot.
fine. It's not the spoiler.
right?
It's a premise of the story.
Yeah. The premise also is that like she said, someone kills the main protagonist like human.
Yeah,
Because
his
apparently they're
best friend.
equals.
Yeah, they're equal. So it's set in a
Yeah.
world where dogs and humans are equal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's
Cool.
bipedal, like Flynn is a bipedal like character.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this cover, and at first I was like, oh, I thought Flynn was bipedal. So at first but here her cover was like a puppy. So I was like, oh, quite curious, like how come suddenly there was a puppy here, but I'm hearing that it's his son. I think that offers a very, very interesting perspective. But you're working with this with Comic Girl Vault, and also you'll be going to SGCC, which is really, really great.
Yes.
Is this your first one?
I've been to for almost 10 years. I've been
every year.
Yeah, so almost every year. The last physical one I couldn't make it because the last physical event I couldn't make it because I was out of town. But I try to go every year, and usually day 1 and day 2 I will always be there. And yeah, so I would consider myself a seasoned attendee, but it's very strange for me to be attending as a guest
As a
artist this
guest artist,
time.
yes.
But very excited.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
You can add that to your belt, like new accomplishments and everything. So what are you most excited about for it?
I think it's the same whether or not I'm attending as a comic fan, as I do every year, or as an artist. It's like just to geek out and to connect with other people who are also interested in arts, comic, and pop culture. Very excited about that. That's every year I'll always make really, really good friends with cosplayers. and-
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
very
actually,
excited.
our podcast will actually be down at SGCC this year. We're going to be doing like a little bit of a street reporting style. So you probably
Yeah.
see us there.
We'll come
This
and
episode
visit
will
you.
probably be
Yes,
out before
please.
then.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
So, we'll be there. Maybe you could come say hi. Yeah, of course, you should come say hi. We'll
Yes,
go,
that'll be
like,
nice to
come
see
and
you.
find Comic Girl Vault, like their booth as well. And I think to wrap up the podcast, just one last question. Any future events or things we should look out for from you?
Events, nothing solid, but collaboration with my mom. She's been waiting with bated breath for me to be done with comics. So
Pencil into your schedule, Quin. I gotta do this with you.
yeah, so she has been messaging me a lot about her ideas, and I can't wait to just meet up with her and just get messy and paint with
that's
her
lovely.
again. Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. And I guess you'll be posting that to Instagram, of course, getting all your process out.
Yeah, I have the habit of
Very
documenting
nice.
most of my process,
Okay.
so you might see some
All
of
right.
the
So you guys follow her Instagram, okay? And then you get to see more of her process. She does showcase a lot of her artwork. I think like her music. She posts a lot about like her playing the bass as well, and her covers. So make sure you follow her on Instagram. And also, to wrap up as well, can check us out on Instagram as well, and also on Discord. And I think that's probably where we'll end it here for today's podcast. So, but yeah, I think that's probably where we'll end it for today. So thank you again, Quin, for joining us today and for the very interesting and enlightening conversation. So it's definitely very, very fun. We had so many segues, but I think overall it was a very, very fun conversation.
I had so much fun. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me. It was a blast.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
see you
you.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Join us for the next episode. Bye.
Bye.